Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the how to design your Spoonflower fabric to make it printable for Lolita border prints. So, into part 3 of today's video, we are on Spoonflower's website. I'm going to show you how it looks when it uploads and how it looks when it gets repeated. So, as you see here, it says 150 DPI recommended. They explain a little bit why here if you wanted to look at that. And it also, this is really important, it says files must be less than 40 MB. So, even though it does accept PNG files, the reason why I think I typically end up saving them as JPEG is because the 40 MB never happens when you save as PNG because, like I said, it is a higher quality thing. Now, the only time you'll really see an issue with a PNG, in my experience, is if it is the DPI is too low, and if you're using red. If you're using true red, you're going to see some issues. You might see some artifacts in your design. So that's the only time in which I've really seen that JPEGs are not, like, where you can see the quality difference between JPEG and PNG. So for stuff like lighter, especially lighter colored stuff, it really doesn't matter if you end up saving it as a JPEG. You're not going to see any of those artifacts really, especially since it's at such high quality. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're just going to go ahead and click on this. There it is, my Spoonflower designs. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this. Make sure you go over everything here. Yes, I own rights. And then you go ahead and hit upload. Now, sometimes this takes a while. I've noticed it used to take a very long time. We're going to see how long it takes today, but usually it takes a while to do this. So while your file's uploading, just feel free to just do other things, basically. I definitely don't recommend trying to open up more than one tab here and try to upload more than one at once. That can take, yeah, that probably would crash your computer. But yeah, I would just say periodically come back here and check on this as it processes your image, and I will check back in with you guys when this is done. Alrighty, so we are back here now. This is what it looks like when it is uploaded. As you can see, it looks kind of weird at first, and it's sort of like, uh-oh, this didn't upload right. I don't want it to look like that. But that's because you gotta choose your fabric type and you gotta choose the amount. So as I was talking before about fat quarters, fat quarters, they will vary depending on whichever fabric you want. So when I did this, I printed on the satin. So now you can see the layout is correct. And the reason why is because it'll, it tells you the yards is 54-inch width. So if you want a fat quarter of this, it tells you it's a 27 by 18. So what I say typically is scout out the fabric you want to print on first, whether that's ordering a little Spoonflower swatch booklet so you can get a feel of the fabrics. Now, like I said, if you want to do the fat quarter, it's going to show you what that fat quarter is going to look like in your little preview. So here you can see it's going to let me have up to 3 little panels, or if I change the DPI, if I want to shrink it down even smaller, then I can get even more, but this won't be true to the actual size when I get it. What I mean by that is it's not going to actually look like a section of the dress because I shrunk it down in order to fit everything in there. Now, if you want to shrink it down just so you can make sure the colors are right, I say that's fine, but please make sure you try to print to how it's actually going to look, as if it's a little snapshot of the final product. That way you know the sizing of everything is correct. So, yeah, that's something else to keep in note. And fat quarter is definitely worth the money in order to see how your final result's going to look. I don't suggest just doing a test swatch. They're so tiny. Even if you shrink it down, it's not going to be worth it. I used to do test swatches because they're so cheap, but it was not worth it in the end to make sure that my sizing and everything was correct. It was just only really good for colors. So yeah, make sure you do a fat quarter. So anyway, so now you've got here your yards 54-inch width. So as you can see how it's laid out, the reason why I wanted to show you guys this is right here. When you change the sizing, boop, change it to 2 yards, look at that, it repeats nicely. You change it to 3 yards, you can just keep scrolling for days, okay? And it'll show you here on the side is 108 inches by the original width, which is 54 inches. So this is great. When you push this little button here and you see if it's repeatable, typically you just need to test it by doing that, hit type in 2, there you go, boom, you can see that it works. Alright, so the other thing is these little repeat things down here. They don't really matter too much. As you can see, when I push it, it doesn't make a difference. You can see kind of what it'll end up doing. You don't want it to do most of these things. As you can see, it just flips certain bits and pieces or whatever in a way that's not useful. I would say if you design it the way I showed you, you just hit basic and it'll come out exactly how you want. So there you go. Yeah, that is the basic way that you would upload to Spoonflower. It's for your yardage. And if you want more tips and stuff like that, my other recommendation, just the basic recommendation when you're ordering through Spoonflower, is if you want to do a jumper skirt, if we're talking standard sizing, okay, we're not talking about plus size. If you're talking about standard sizing, you're going to need about 2 yards for a jumper skirt. And if you want to do an OP, you can do 3 yards. Now, if you are a mathematic freak like me and you want to save money, you might be able to get away with doing something like 2 yards for an OP if it's a short sleeve OP and you know your measurements very well. And what you can do is there's this cool little thing right here. If you want to be able to get a good idea if 2 yards will be enough, or if because 1 yard definitely won't be enough. 1 yard's like 36 inches, okay? 36 by 36 inches. Even if you want to do a skirt, you might be able to get away with this. But even okay, Alice and the Pirates is the only company I've ever seen get away with 72-inch skirt, because the width, like, that's if you don't want to really have a petticoat under there at all, because it won't hold a petticoat. It just won't. 72 inches is too narrow, even if you're on the smaller end. Even if you're on the smaller end of standard sizing. If you're on the larger end of standard sizing, definitely won't work either. Okay, so I would say do 2 yards if you want to do a skirt, if you want to do a jumper skirt, and if you want to do an OP, go for 3 yards. If you are plus size and you want to do these things, I always say 3 yards for a jumper skirt, and I think you can still do 3 yards for an OP, actually. It just depends. Like I said, short sleeve, long sleeve. But 3 yards for it, it doesn't hurt to just scale up and give yourself an extra yard or so. And that's because you want that extra inch, the inch amount, in the skirt area, so it gets enough flare. So that's why I say that. So anyway, if you want to make sure that you, like I said, if you're a math freak like me and you want to make sure you're getting just the right amount of fabric, you can do this image right here where it shows you all these little numbers. Save this image, bring it into GIMP or your program, and then literally just take a little, like put another layer on, like a layer tool on, and then just do like a mock-up of your pattern pieces, and just do just do the basic sizing of those pieces. So for example, you would want to cut this in half, and you would want to make sure you're giving yourself 50 inches on this side, 50 inches on that side for the skirt. So you could say up to this mark right here, this right here where these two little angel babies are, that entire section is going to be enough to make the bottom of your skirt. So it'll be 50 inches here, 50 inches here. That's about 100 inches. That's usually pretty good for standard sizing. If you're plus size, you're probably going to want to go for 120 inches, so maybe go up to the 60-inch mark here, okay? And then what it's going to do is, you see between 60 and 72, that's about 12 inches. This is your remaining amount of space. This is why I say that 2 yards is typically not enough for an OP. But 12 inches of space, especially if you're doing something just like a bodice, this section right here in the middle is typically enough if you're doing standard sizing in order to make yourself a bodice with straps. Now for Aurora Valentine, I actually did a solid color bodice with poly crepe de chine in peach, which I had matched when I went to Joann's. I matched it with this fabric, so I actually didn't have to worry about making sure I had enough yardage to cover both the skirt and the bodice part, because I made the bodice out of a separate fabric. But if you do want to make the bodice out of the same fabric, and you don't obviously want this border print to be on the top part of your bodice, sometimes it's cool, sometimes you can do that. But if you don't, and you want to make sure that this solid colored part is going to be your bodice, make sure that you are measuring that out and that you have enough fabric for this area, okay? So yeah, you can save this little file. This is a little trick I used to use whenever I was coming up with if I would have enough yardage, because I just really want to make sure I had enough for everything. I didn't want to be buying yards upon yards and wasting a lot of money and wasting the business's money. You know, you don't want to do anything like that. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it gave you some helpful tips on uploading to Spoonflower and how it's going to look. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. And if you want to see me do the same thing but for a pattern that's like an all-over print, like a repeatable all-over pattern, then I can go ahead and do that as well. Just if I get enough interest in it, I'll show you how I do that. like I was saying before, I'm doing a giveaway for these cute pair of milk socks. If you want to be eligible, just make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, follow my Instagram, and drop me a comment on one of these videos. If you want some more cute content like this, make sure you support my channel. Give me a like, give me a little thumbs up if you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time.